Welcome to another edition of Sideline Sports. We got everybody here tonight. We got some special things going on. We got John. I don't know why I like the Canes and Heat sheer.
Finally,
if
you're
only my
coming
Rangers
to the
could
good
win a couple
side.
more games after starting out 2-0.
All right, watch yourself.
It's almost
Watch
May
yourself.
4th, just like the good guys
hang
in
on,
Star
hang on.
Wars.
John,
I'm not even gonna attempt tonight, Dave.
Just Dave.
I messed up his name so many times. So I'm just gonna bypass
Des Rochers.
this week. I'm gonna.
That's
take
not even
this
right,
week.
John. I mean, you chimed in. You chimed in like you had it nailed.
Hold on.
All week, and he throws a bunch of S's in there.
Des Rochers. That was the best one yet.
Jared, I've been doing this like 2 months with them now, and one of them said my name right yet.
Give her a shay. I got you.
I took a pass this week. I said, I'm going to use my free pass. Next week, I got you.
Dave. I say it. Hold on.
I scored as
right?
much as the Rangers did last night.
All right, John. You just digging a hole for yourself.
And our special guest tonight, Jared Budge, who's got a lot to tell us about what he's doing now, as well as former Giant running back, which I know Jake and myself will always appreciate.
Always
having a great former Giant on the show.
Absolutely. All right. So before we start, it's Tuesday tradition. Dave, what are the tacos? I gotta know.
Tonight just chicken. I had to keep it simple.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And a not so normal Tuesday thing, JB. I'm going to embarrass you. Sorry, not sorry. Congratulations on retirement.
Thank you
to the whole world for them to all know. I spoke to you the other day, but I just wanted to congratulate you again because I can.
I appreciate it.
I also just want to embarrass you because I can.
But
so now everybody knows.
Now on to the most important career, Sideline Sports.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of times when people retire, they go, "Man, you don't look old enough to retire," but JB, you do. So
hey, wow.
Oof. Hey, I didn't say it. Although I do agree with it.
It's all the cigarettes and lost bets that he's had.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of the lost bets.
The lost bets are killer.
Hey, so I was able to convince Jared to come on board. Like I said, he's been sitting on since 5. He's one of those prompt guys, and it's actually been awesome to get to know him. He's now the president for the LA chapter here for the NFLPA, and he and I spent the morning over at the West LA VA as they did a ribbon cutting for 2 brand new apartment complexes for homeless veterans. The mayor was there. It was a lot of dignitaries, and we had a handful of guys there, like we like to do with the NFLPA, and that support the community, support our veterans and police officers and kids. So anyways, I asked him if he'd come on and do this, because I know you guys love the Giants. So why don't we get started talking, ask him some stuff.
And just so we're clear, like, not to diminish what anybody can accomplish in a game of football, but doing that is bigger than any accomplishment that you could have in the game of football or in any sport. Like, that's real life stuff. So I just want to make sure that's thrown out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I have to say.
John.
I am truly impressed with the work that the NFLPA does. I mean, Dave, I see what you do all the time because we're connected. And Jared, I know you being president of the LA chapter, I'm sure that's really important to you as well. I mean, how important was it when you got into the league to give back as much as you are right now?
Give back. Look, I always look at it as where I came from and being a part of the atmosphere that I came from, and just continuing to be a part of that atmosphere, and seeing the things that I didn't receive from my local atmosphere. But when I went to college, what I saw when I had other teammates and classmates and what they went through, how they had things that I didn't have, had support that I didn't have, or didn't have support that I had, it just made me look at the whole realm and say, where I came from, I had some advantages and I had some disadvantages. And those disadvantages, I want to go back when I go to my hometown. I try to share from the other things that I've experienced, and bring it back and say, you know what, this little microcosm here in my home, in this hometown, is not it. Once you go outside these walls, outside these city limits, there's a lot more that you can discover. And I didn't know that, I mean, and and when you come from a small town, I came from a small town in Ohio, and I would say small town. You really don't know about what's outside those, outside those city limits until you just go out there and experience it. And you have to learn to experience it, not what I had to learn is what I learned in Ashtabula, doesn't go everywhere, doesn't work everywhere. And there are other ways that things can get accomplished, other ways things can be done, and absorb it. I had to learn how to get those things. And when you come from a small town, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, JB.
no, I was curious because we have both you guys, Dave and Jared, on, and you guys are both presidents of your chapter of the NFL PA alumni. What is it? What are your responsibilities, and what are you looking to bring to your chapter in Los Angeles that may or may not have been there before?
Well, I know for me, I came from, actually, I was 4 years, I was the vice president of NFL alumni. And even though all of the members are the same people, and the top NFL alumni is from the owners, NFL Players Association is the players. And I'm glad that I went through that process of being that vice president, learning and seeing and watching. And you do have to have a focus of what you want to accomplish, because there are so many things that people will come to you with. They want to say, hey, can you, will you do this? Will you do that? And what I really love to do is show the players, the former players, what they have played and what they have earned. By being a player, you've earned certain benefits, and those benefits can help you through life after football. And that's what they're built for. That's what they're there for. And they have changed over the years. So when I was forced to retire in '95 because of a knee injury, things that I applied for to get benefits for, I was denied. And back then it was like insurance. You got denied for everything. But now it's changed. But because of so many years of being denied, everyone was denied. Players got this bad attitude that they wouldn't even contact benefits. They were like, because I know I'm not going to get it. Now, with the new CBA, it has changed. There are benefits that you have to explore because you probably will receive them. And so my goal is, as president, is to make sure that everyone is aware of their benefits, aware of what they have earned, right? Because not a lot of guys can say, I've earned it. If you're not vested, there's a different level of what you earn. If you played 1 year, there's a different level that you earned. If you only tried out for a team but didn't even make the team, but you signed a contract, there's a different thing that you can earn. But no one's ever taken the time to say, look, I know it's frustrating, but listen to me. Go and find out what you deserve.
So, hey guys, I've been doing this for a minute on the PA side, and in what Jared is saying is one of the reasons why I continue to be involved, because there's some frustration too, like to Jared's point, guys just get discouraged. But I've been vice president for almost 5 years now, just became president. And for me, and I see my buddies that I've helped get monthly checks or a large workers' comp settlement payment because they just had no clue, or they were declined, but then they appealed. They didn't even know they could appeal. Because, guys, well, JB, you just retired. You went through HR, right? You went through HR. Of course, HR told you all your benefits, what you had, what you can continue, what all these. There is no HR with the NFL. Here's your plane ticket. Go see the doctor and peace.
Get out.
So, so we have no idea. And what's also enlightening to me is we just had a meeting. We just had Jared's first meeting as president. Had a great turnout down in LA, man. It was awesome. And there was a cat that played 14 years that didn't even know what he had entitled to. He's been out a couple of years, and he goes, "Oh man, I didn't know." I mean, you would imagine a guy who's been around 14 years would be say, "Gee, bro, thanks for your service." Make sure you put all this stuff out, but they just don't. And I'm just like Jared, man. That's the most satisfying thing is, yes, it's great being out in the community. It is great contributing and being a part, but to work with our brothers and even if it's just, I've gotten a couple of guys that they had a couple of paychecks. They didn't even make a team, but they have free vision and free dental now.
That's awesome.
And they thought it was like the greatest thing ever.
I mean, you can't underestimate how helpful that is.
Yeah. So
that's huge.
Yeah. And that's a great part of it.
Yeah. No.
And also, I mean, as Jared was saying, like it's something that everybody should explore that has been in the NFL. I agree. I mean, if you have mental health things going on, if you have physical things going on, like you should explore those things so that way you can go to the doctor and be able to address whatever it is you might have. Or if you just played in the NFL and you're able to collect that check, that's really helpful because you're giving your body, you're giving your time, you're giving your mind, you're giving every bit of you to be in the NFL. And people just see athletes as well. I mean,
they see them as meatheads.
Like it's not the case at all. Like people don't understand. Like these are actual people with actual families, and they're given every bit of themselves to be in the NFL, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah. So I got two quick questions for you, Jared, that I had to ask. And Dave, thank you for pointing out that I am a Giants fan because it makes these questions make sense just a little bit. So obviously you come to the team in 91. It's right after a Super Bowl. What was that feeling like for you? Like just when you were drafted, like what went through your head thinking, oh my God, I'm like, this is a Super Bowl winning team. What was the feeling? Were you just like, I need to get to work? Or was it kind of a little bit like, this is pretty cool?
Well, look, so it changed because I didn't think that I was going to be drafted by the Giants because they, through the process of drafting and, going, meeting, interviewing, whatnot, they came and saw me at the school at the end of the season one time, and that was it. Combine, they had one running back coach who interviewed me, and that was it. So I didn't think that the Giants were
remotely interested.
I weren't, I knew that I was the top fullback. I knew I was rated in the top 5 of the running backs, period. But I didn't know whether I was going to be drafted as a fullback or a running back. And quite honestly, I wanted to be drafted as a running back. And I knew that the Giants was one of the teams that when they used their fullback, he was basically a guard in the backfield. Right. He didn't run the ball at all. And they led the league in rushing. Joe Morris that year, Super Bowl, he was a leading rusher. And their fullback had about under 100 yards rushing. So I was not, when I met with them at the combine, talking to them, I was, hey, listen, if I got drafted to them, it's great.
Sure.
I preferred to go somewhere where I was going to be a running back, or at least San Francisco where they used the fullback. So when I was drafted by them and it came up and they were the last pick, they didn't call before the draft came up. And at that time it was the longest first round, 3 hours. And so we were sitting there and the phone didn't ring. And so I said, well, who's picking first in the second round? And the pick came in and they called my name, and then they called and we talked. So right off the bat, I was, I had a different feeling of how everything was going to go. So them being the Super Bowl champions made it great. I just wanted to go in and be a part of the team. And before I signed my contract, Bill Parcells resigned.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, and he resigned, and what happened was Ray Hanley was the running back coach,
yep.
and the assistant head coach was the offensive coordinator, and everyone assumed that he would go to head coach.
Right.
He didn't. I forgot his name. But they elevated Ray Hanley to head coach over the assistant head coach. And I didn't. They called me, asked me questions. I didn't know anything. I was held out. Got there and started, didn't play that much. Their offense was ran. They wanted to run the ball with their halfback and block with fullback. And they knew I was a running fullback, but I could block. But they thought, shoot, we can just keep our own fullback in there and just keep him,
Sure.
And it was a bad situation with the head coach, and there was a problem with everything. So I didn't even know who the offensive coordinator was halfway through the season. Ron Earhart, that was his name. Halfway through, I didn't know who he was. I knew he was standing in the locker room, but I didn't know.
You know what he did. You just didn't know who he was.
No, he didn't. He was the offensive coordinator in name only. He didn't even come to the meeting.
Wow. Where can I get a job like that, Jared? Do you have any connections with any of the NFL teams?
Listen, no, but here, what I found out was he and Ray Hanley, they didn't like each other. Of course, the guy was, he was the offense coordinator, assistant head coach, and they passed him up.
So, there was a little animosity.
He didn't do anything. And one day, I remember Dave Meggett, because we're walking in, it was past halfway through the season, and Ron Earhart comes to me, he's like, Bunch, if I was in charge, I'd be running you up in the middle all the time. I'd be just pounding the ball with you. And so I go to Dave Meggett. I said, Meggett, man, we need to get him in on the staff. And that's the offense coordinator. And I'm like, why isn't he in? He told me the whole thing, that what I told you, they didn't like each other. And I went the whole season, finished the season carrying the ball one time. And then I had a meeting with the head coach and said, listen, they had a bad season, went 8-8. We said we didn't think that it was necessary to use you right away.
Stand corrected.
Yeah. So, and then during the all season they cut Maurice Carthon. I was starting fullback before the season started, and then that second year I was the offensive year.
Yeah. So the other thing I have to ask you about as a running back, of course, you had some good running backs on that team. Otis Anderson, who was no longer the lead guy, but still a great running back at his time. And, of course, Rodney Hampton being the lead guy. Just as a rookie, as a young man, how was that experience just learning from those two?
Rodney was only 1 year ahead of me, and I'm older than Rodney. So we were pretty close. OJ had been in the league for so long, man, and he was still playing well. We had David Meggett, who had set the world on fire in the first 2-3 years of his career. And we had Louis Tillman, who broke some of Sweetness's records. They both went to Jackson State. He broke some of Sweetness's records, so that's why he wore 34. So we had a really good room of running backs. But here's the problem. We had when I told you that Ray Hanley, who was the running back coach, went to head coach, they gave that running back spot to a guy named it'll come to me, but he didn't look like a running back. He never coached running backs.
He wasn't fit. He didn't understand it.
He would, and in the meeting, he would ask OJ question and then tell me. He would ask him a question, then tell me. Like, man, there was no respect. It was like, and so I was wrong, but I didn't respect him. Charlie Weiss, that's who it was. Charlie Weiss.
Charlie Weiss,
Former Notre Dame head coach.
Yeah, under Bill Belichick for a while in New England.
I was not a fan.
He was just a offensive assistant or whatever, but his first they moved him to running back coach, and I just had a problem with him from day one, and he had a problem with me. and so we just never got.
Hey guys, so I know with you guys being big Giants fans, I know you guys watched Jared play. I watched Jared play, and I remember, on TV going, man, that cat, I wouldn't want to tackle that dude. And hey, and it was really kind of cool at my tournament to have both Jared and Christian Okoye there. And I'm a pretty big dude. And I'm looking at both these cats in the eye, going, "Holy smokes, man! I should be running behind them." I mean, they're just, you shake Jared's hand, it goes. I'm like, no wonder, man. It was fun to watch him because he just ran dudes over. It was just not even a question. You needed 3 or 4. Jared's going to get it.
Yeah.
Oh,
you needed.
My gosh!
Look at that.
He was a big running back.
Look at
The way you're describing what happened, Jared, in the 91 season and beyond, it makes sense as a fan because at that point I was young.
Come on now, JB. You don't got to do that to him.
I'm a couple of years behind Jared.
I didn't know you were ever young. I just thought you were born with a cigarette in your mouth.
Now it makes sense why the Giants went into such a decline because we had a lot of the same personnel. It wasn't as if we lost, most of the team. A lot of guys were still there, but the team wasn't performing.
The problem was, I don't want to say problem, but the situation was the changing coach. And when you change the coach, you change the philosophy. You went from Bill Parcells to Ray Handley, who has never been a head coach before. But Ray Handley was a mathematical genius. Like he could you can throw out all kinds of numbers and then he'd just pop it back to you.
Yeah.
That's how he coached. He told us, I'll never forget this. He said, when in the kickoff, you get the ball on 20-yard line. There's 45% chance that you're going to score, 33% chance that you're going to get here, blah, blah, blah. So our goal is to get it past the 50-yard line. And once you get past the 50-yard line, your percentages of scoring will go dramatically up.
That's good coaching. I like that. That's helpful.
Oh, so
if you get in the end zone, you might win the game.
Oh,
this is what he said, right? He broke it all down on what we're trying to accomplish. And I just could not believe it. I've never heard a coach talk.
What a silly thing to say. John, you said it best. That's like saying if you get into the end zone, you might win.
It's like John Madden used to say, you got to score more points than the other team to win. Well, of course you do. But you guys played football. Coaching isn't necessarily that way where it's just by the numbers. Like you have to develop chemistry with your players and develop relationships, and it's not all about the X's and O's and the numbers. Like there's more to it than that.
And you realize the assistants that Parcells had that were on those teams.
Yeah,
Al Groh was there, who became a really good coach.
Yep.
Belichick, who people will claim is one of the best coaches of all time. So there are some great coaches that coached under Parcells when he was a Giant coach, and they went with Handley, which back then confused me.
Yeah, who else was on that team? Who was a coach he was a coach for the Bears? He was a coach for Carolina Panthers, head coach.
John Fox.
John Fox on that. He was on the staff too.
Yeah, they had some
and they went with
coaches all over.
Yeah, well,
and him. That was the one issue I always had and still have as a Giants fan is the Mara family, like the Steelers, are very loyal to their coach. The difference is
loyal to a fault.
In Pittsburgh, Tomlin hasn't had a losing year, so you can't not be loyal to him. And the two coaches before him were really good, But that's
Jeff Fisher Jr. Come on.
That's it. It's about winning games, Sean.
So, Jared, your first year was 91?
91.
Was LT still there?
Yeah, he was there. We played together for 3 years.
Well, you know what? So, hey, was Jeff Novak there? I played with him 2 years in the World League. I know he spent 1 year up there, and I know he was there with LT as well. He shared a story with me that at the end of the season, LT was cleaning out his locker, and he found a game check from the year before. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember
$75,000 sitting in the bottom of his locker that was over a year old.
Yep.
was there. Yes.
Okay, so we can confirm it's true.
It is
There
true.
are multiple sources now telling us this really did happen.
Could
That
you
is true.
imagine?
That is true.
You know what?
Drop
If that ever
everything you
happens
do and you go
again-
straight to the bank.
If that ever happens again to any player, they should automatically donate the check to Sideline Sports because they don't need it. You know,
Apparently.
You go straight to the bank and you do nothing else. You
Well,
drop
he
that
didn't
right
tell his
in.
wife. I know that.
I remember a couple things that most memorable is when we played Dallas Cowboys. One of the years that it was either the first time they won the Super Bowl or the second year, but that was the first time that we played. Well, they beat us a few times, but when we played against Dallas Cowboys at home, it was the first time that I said we are not supposed to be playing on the same field as these guys here. They were beating us. They beat us so bad. And so here is the halftime speech. The halftime we went in, the score was 28-0 at halftime. We come inside and Ray Hanley says, "Hey guys, I know we can't win. Well, let's make it respectable."
I know we can't win. That is the
Wow.
worst way to start a speech ever.
I'm sorry.
I know we can't do it, so let's just try.
He said, "I know we're not gonna win, but let's just make it respectable. Some of the guys are gonna have to play these guys next year." This is what he said. Some of the guys will be on the team to play them next year.
Oh my gosh.
Some of you. That's inspirational.
Wow.
That was very
That's
Lombardi-esque. I think, I think he paraphrased Lombardi on that one.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's got to be the worst speech I think ever.
That
for
is
a coach.
an awful
And
mentality.
it's not meant to be a piece of, I don't mean to disrespect him, but
No,
no, that's
you
not
can't say
great.
that.
That's pretty silly.
No,
It's awful.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's,
And you guys came back and won 35-28, if I remember correctly, right? After
did.
that speech.
we lost, but we lost
Respectably.
we lost by 2 points.
Oh, so you lost
Wow.
respectably.
Yeah.
So you know what? It was a good speech because you know what he said. I know we can't win, and you didn't win, but you made it respectable. You did a good job. So clearly, what he said had an impact. You guys did exactly what he said.
Yeah.
I think it probably just pissed you all off.
Oh,
I would think it would. I'd be pissed if somebody said that to me. He said, "I know you can't win, but just do your best."
You guys
And
aren't
then
good enough. But
on top of that, he said you may not be here next year because only some of the guys will be here next year to play them. So you may not be on the team next year, but don't worry about it. The guy.
But it's
next year may
okay.
be.
Just do your best now.
at least make the organization look respectable.
Yeah. How many years was he head coach?
2.
That's 2 years too many, I think. No offense. Again, nothing personal.
I was
But when
gonna
you
say
tell
the
me
same
that
thing.
speech, I go,
Wow.
yeah, I just don't think he's meant to be a head coach. He could be
No.
the nicest guy. I just don't know he was meant to be a head coach. And,
Some
it happens.
guys are meant to be coordinators. Some guys are meant
Exactly.
to be position
Bingo, way to
coaches.
steal my
And there's
catch.
some guys that are supposed to be head coaches. Ray Hanley was not a head coach.
Like Vic Fangio, amazing defensive coordinator, not meant to be a head coach.
Of course,
Some
you
guys
pick-
just aren't.
You know, it's ironic because where does Vic Fangio coach right now?
The best team in the league.
Right, the Dolphins. So John
Thank you.
always brings it back to your team. Okay.
No, I'm just saying.
I just wanted to clarify because you could have picked a guy like John Fox, who's a great coordinator, doesn't coach for your team.
he was
really
a really
wasn't-
good head coach.
He was okay, but
He
I
went.
think
He
he's.
took the
I think
the
ultimately-
Panthers to their first
I think
Super Bowl.
ultimately he was better as a coordinator. But no, you pick a guy. You pick a guy on your team. That's all. Just
I
saying.
liked Fox.
Wait.
They had a lot of really good years with Julius Peppers.
Yeah, Fox was a head coach.
I don't think he was bad.
And
I
with-
just think he was a
with
better coordinator. That's
Smith,
all.
Jake Delhomme, Julius Peppers. That was a really good team they had.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm just saying I think he was better as a coordinator. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not arguing that he's a good head coach.
So, Jared, you transitioned from football. You're now working in show business. You have your own company where you guys do documentaries and commercials and everything. So, how did you make a transition from being a really good football player to going into the Hollywood lifestyle?
Because I was playing for the Los Angeles Raiders, and right here in Hollywood is where entertainment is the entertainment capital, and you have so many opportunities to do something in show business. And that's the bottom line, how I got into it. I was dating a girl at the time whose best friend was Holly Robinson and Lita Rashawn. So they were always together. We were always hanging out. And Holly was engaged to Rodney Peete at the time.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time together, and they encouraged me to, while you're here, pursue some acting jobs or whatever. It's about relationships.
Yep.
So that's what it started off as. And when I could no longer play, I knew I had to do something. And I thought that whatever it was I was doing, I needed to make some good money and also give me time to. I thought I was coming back to play. I thought I was time to rehab and that's what I thought. So I thought I would do this and rehab and whatever. And even 5 years later, I still was talking about. I was still.
I'll be back.
Oh, I literally.
The competitor in you wanted to play still.
Jared, when I was 52, I tried out for the LA Kiss Arena Football. I still thought I could do. Well,
you probably could.
But I had a great time, man. And we were doing one-on-one drills, and I told the coach, I go, look, if one of those kids touches that bag behind me, I'm going home. I tell you what, man, they didn't want to go up against me. Yeah, I had a great time. So I get it. We don't, but that's
just want to prove it to
when you get to that level, I think that, you feel like you could always, buckle it up and go, and it's funny because we were talking about that transition. For me, it was the same thing. I was in LA. My agent goes, hey, you want to go judge a bikini contest down at this bar, and a sports bar? And I said, sure. And the cast from the First and 10 was there. And they go, hey, Dave, we need a big white guy. What are you doing? I said, I'm not doing nothing. So I mosey on down there. It was when OJ was on it, and, it was an HBO series. And they said, man, yeah, you're in. And so I started doing commercials, and I was, I did a couple of movies, and I was on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And, it's easy to transition to do that. And I loved it. I just didn't know what the heck I was doing. See, now you guys, and if you haven't seen that movie MVP, I've told you about it. Because Jared, Nate was my honorary host for the tournament. Jared does a great job in that movie, playing a former player and somebody that and it's guys, you have to see that movie. People, anybody that's watching this, you got to check out MVP. It's streaming on Showtime now. There's no reason why you can't see it. And that's when I first met Jared. Is he actually was very gracious. He's very gracious with his time, but he came down. We did a showing at a theater in Laguna, and Nate was there. Jared showed up. We had a bunch of former players, and we hosted like 40 veterans to watch that movie in a theater. So nice. You guys should check it out.
Check it out. BP.
Now, Jared, quick question for you. The writer strike that's just started, does that affect your company in any way?
Oh. So.
If you can talk about it.
Yeah.
Affects the industry, period. So, I'm not worried about it. But
okay.
But I shouldn't say I'm not worried about it. It's because it's going to affect the industry, period. And people, this is not the time not to work right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and everyone's with all the stuff that's going on. Everyone is trying to just, they're trying to take care of themselves. And this is a new media where everything's online, everything's, you carry it in your hand on your phone. You can do all these different things, and they're just trying to get it right. It's just going to take some time, but it's going to be a little while before they straighten it out. But it's a necessary thing.
Well, it's just like you were saying with with the benefits stuff. It takes time to get all that right, and people just want to be taken care of no matter what field you're in. They want to know that they're taken care of. So I completely get it.
Yeah. So hey guys, so we've mentioned the draft. I was drafted a few years earlier than Jared, and I had 2 numbers in my round, and he had 1. But nonetheless, it was a different era, right, Jeremy? You know, our phones were attached to a wall. You know, there wasn't that access, there wasn't that same thing, and there wasn't all that hype like there is now. And guys, we'd be remiss if we didn't spend a little bit of time talking about the current draft. And you know, I don't. Do the Giants still have a team? Who did they draft? I didn't even
You
know.
know, the disrespect. You know, we had a very good draft. Thank you very much.
Well, you needed
we
one.
did well, but I was confused about the first round trade, Jake. And maybe, you know, you being the other Giant fan or Jared.
What are you
John,
confused about?
Why they traded up to draft who they drafted?
I'll tell you why. I think it was one of those things that the Giants saw the run on receivers and they got a little bit nervous and said, okay, we're not drafting a receiver, but we're worried that our guy is going to go because he is arguably.
Which they did get a receiver, by the way.
Later
Yes,
on.
a very good
Later on.
receiver as well.
Yes. But I think they were nervous because he's probably the best or maybe the second best corner in the whole draft. He was, you know, very highly touted for his position. I think they just saw the way that, you know, guys that they had interest in were going off the board, and they said, look, we got to get our guy. It's one spot, yes, but it's not worth the risk of losing our guy and then, you know, having to go to a backup plan. I think that's really what it comes down to. I think it's as simple as that.
I mean, obviously, it had to be the guy that they wanted.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to what they gave up for it.
No, I think it was worth it.
I just think that they would have been okay if they had waited because Joey Porter was also there.
Oh my
could have
gosh!
went either one, and
Murray,
I would have preferred that. But listen, hey, I'm not the GM.
You know
what were you
what?
saying, Jared?
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think that that's the person that they wanted the whole time?
No, I think probably they wanted one of the receivers. I mean, that's probably, if I had to guess, knowing the Giants, they were hoping to go receiver round 1 and then corner round 2 or 3. But I think that they saw the way the draft was unfolding, said, all right, this is a guy we are interested in heavily. He's falling to us, and the receivers that we wanted are not there. Let's get a guy that we're going to, you know, the guy that is currently available that we're going to be happy with. I think that's kind of what it was. I don't know that that was their initial choice. Like, I don't think that was their top guy overall.
If the Giants really wanted a corner, like, you could have went Joey Porter Jr. He went first pick in the second round. Could have went Cam Smith, who went to the Dolphins, who, I mean, Cam Smith is a fantastic talent. We talked to his agent at the draft. I mean, he's a really nice guy. We talked all about him. And then you could have got Branch, who the Lions ended up getting, who was a really great talent as well. Like, there's a lot of fantastic corners in the second and third rounds.
But let me tell you, so
that you could have gotten.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why they got him in the first, though. This I can tell you, you know, pretty confidently. If they went for a receiver in the first, it would have been a reach. Getting, you know, based on who was available, getting our guy in the first round the way we did, I think they said, this is not a reach. This is a young man that is extremely talented. He's a very physical corner, which is something they're looking for. And they said, we can get a receiver in the second or the third, depending on who's available. Right. But there are no first round talents left that we feel that are worth drafting at this spot at the receiver position. So I think they said, instead of reaching for somebody that's not worth it and trading or just trading out of the first, which we don't want to do, let's get a guy that we know will fit our scheme. He will be a good presence in the locker room. He's a guy we're interested in having, and we'll get him. So I think that's why they didn't probably go, the receiver in the first round. I think,
and what they gave up wasn't the issue. A fifth and a seventh round pick with the amount of picks they had, that was nothing.
No,
right? It's just,
it's peace of mind. It's peace of mind. That's what it is.
You know, there were so many other options at that position that were actually, in my opinion, could be better. But
you know what? Here's the thing: if they didn't get him at our pick, what was it, like 25?
Yeah,
he probably, like, the guys that all the corners we mentioned would have been off the board by the time we came around, as well as our guys. So
Joey Porter was still there at 25.
Right? No. What I'm saying is, if we said let's trade out of the first, I
wouldn't have traded out. I would have just kept the other picks and picked at our position.
I'm just saying, but if they would have traded out of the first, if that was another option that they explored, my point would have been that they would have lost out on that.
That would have been what I would have.
Hey,
done.
Look, but
listen,
you know what?
After last year they did phenomenal. So
yeah,
I'm willing to see how this turns out.
The way I see it is, it was probably an interview thing that they had, and they said, "This is something that fits what we want," and that was it. And that's kind of how I look at it.
What did you
think?
Jared,
Are you still involved with the Giants organization at all? I mean,
Not as much as I used to be.
okay.
Actually, before the pandemic, up until the pandemic, I used to go back once or twice. They used to have me back to do either, something with the fans or for a game. The Giants, they're usually really good at keeping their alumni involved, but the Raiders are much better.
Well, yeah, the Raiders are great, and the Seahawks do. I mean, even let a couple of your guy like me, walk on the field sometimes. But what I was going to ask is, have you had a chance to meet or get to know Saquon Barkley at all? And what do you think about how he's doing as far as his sustainability? Because running backs, just like you and you encountered, you started racking up some injuries. What are your thoughts on him? Because he's such a great talent.
If you've ever met him in person, he's got some of the biggest legs I've ever seen. His calves are as big as his thighs, and he's got huge thighs.
JT, do me a favor and put up
Bigger
that
than
graphic of
yours
Jared
in that
again.
picture.
Yeah, put up that picture of Jared again, JT, if you can. Because Jared, I didn't want to say it before and it make you feel uncomfortable, but I have to be very honest with you. When I saw this picture, the first thing I thought of was, wow, he has got some massive legs. He has got tree trunks for legs. He might have been bigger than Saquon. And now that we're talking about him, I have to mention that because I looked and I was like, oh my God. I was like,
I said his calves.
Oh,
I know.
okay,
But I'm saying,
okay,
but when you said that, I'm thinking in my head, I go,
Yeah,
this man's got some big legs too. Like that was what I thought. And I had to say something.
calves are as big as his thighs. And it goes from ankles to his calves, everything.
Yeah.
And he's a talent that only comes around, every once in a while.
Right.
I don't know what the Giants are thinking. I mean, because it's the entire league. Running backs aren't what they used to be, and they don't put the emphasis on them like they used to. They're ready to get rid of them quick because of injuries that occur. But he, to me, is a real he's a real specimen. He's a really good player. Good guy. I've met him, talked to him. He's got his good head on his shoulder.
Right.
And I hope they straighten it out.
I was just going to say, can you do me a huge favor? Can you call him up? Can you talk to him and say, look, please don't leave the Giants. Figure it out. Do whatever it takes to figure this out, please.
I want him to do what's best for him now. Now,
okay.
the thing is, sometimes the agent gives you some bad advice.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know I'm not saying that he is getting bad advice because I don't know what's going on there.
Just general
Just
statement.
in general, right?
Yes. Understood.
Right.
Yeah.
I got bad advice. I got bad advice. When I went through the things with the Giants. So it happens.
Yep.
It happens.
But you don't know that, and you don't know that about the agent until
it
you go through it. Like, there's no way to know that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm sure it's hard to know until it's too late.
Until it's too late. That's the sad.
You're right.
So, and I'll tell you too, that's one of the things that Joe, when I was listening to you talk about that, and I think that's sometimes when we look at ending our career. It's one thing when you've had a great career and everything is solid, and you just, it's just it is what it is. But when it ends on some bad advice, and maybe I shouldn't have made that move, and if I would have just, and then you're like, you're kind of hung there, and it wasn't on your terms. And that's a tough transition. I'm going through, and this is kind of neat, guys. I don't know if you know this, but the NFL has transition coaches, and it's an 80-hour certification that I'm about 2/3 of the way through.
Wow.
And we deal with so much. I had no idea. My nonprofit is about helping all people transition. I work with veterans and players, but it just was a natural thing for me to go through. And to see the guys, and these are dudes, Donnie Edwards and some of the other names. Me and Jared have the same issues. We have old age and concussions. We can't remember anybody's name. But but there's just dudes that are there ready to take a call, and they're giving us scenarios, and I'm hearing what guys are going through, and it just goes back to that MVP thing of guys on the edge, having to talk them off the ledge. And it's just it's an unfortunate thing when you just get something that was so important to you just taken away.
Yeah.
You just walk in one day and say, "Hey, go see Chuck." I had to go see Chuck Knox. Bring your playbook. I'm like, "Oh, what? Well, I was starting 2 weeks ago. What the heck?" Yep. And it's just, it's brutal.
Yeah. So, real quick, unrelated to football, I have to bring this up. And John, there's 2 hockey things I wanted to talk about tonight. So we're running low on time. So I just want to talk about them real quick. You know what? Fine. I'm not going to say the nice thing I was going to say because you're pushing your luck, John. You're pushing your luck. You know exactly what you're doing, because what I was going to say is, John, I was actually going to pick your Hurricanes to win in this next round, and I actually think the Hurricanes are going to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals. And that was a big prediction, because this was the second thing. One of the most embarrassing sports losses I have ever seen in my entire life has happened this past week. And I needed to take like 30 seconds to point it out, because the Boston Bruins were one of the greatest regular season teams.
The greatest
I have ever seen. No,
the most wins in the history of the game.
I'm talking about any sport at all, John. I'm not just talking about hockey. I'm talking about any sport. They were one of the best teams. And I know you could say, oh, well, the Patriots were undefeated. They made it to a Super Bowl at least. Oh, the Warriors were, nearly undefeated.
I think it's harder to win the amount of games the Bruins won than the amount of games the Warriors.
Hold on. Time out. But to those points, I say those teams that you would mention had one thing in common. They advanced in the playoffs. They actually won games in the playoffs to go past the first round, most of which made it to the third or even potentially the finals. The Boston Bruins have had one of the worst postseasons ever. And I am so embarrassed for all Bruins fans, but the rest of the NHL can rejoice, because I truly believe this is the biggest collapse. You were the greatest regular season team on paper in terms of numbers, wins and such. And you couldn't win a single playoff series, not one.
It's beautiful. It really is.
So
it goes to show you how hard the NHL playoffs are, though.
It is. And I just say something.
It is an embarrassment. Don't get me wrong, but
it is. It's bad.
By far, in my opinion, the hardest playoffs in any sport is the NHL playoffs, because things can change in a second.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what?
Yeah, baby.
But here's
there
the
we
thing.
are.
Thank you,
All right, hold on. Put the Devils over facing us. Make sure you update that.
Not my fault.
Devils. Listen, as an Islander fan, I'm so disappointed with the Rangers.
Yeah.
I hate the Devils.
Yeah.
Yes, I
you have no idea how I feel. But
no, the NHL
Judges hurt. Rangers are
don't
dead.
talk about it. John, listen to me. All right. I gave you a compliment. One of the best compliments I could give you. Just take it and just let it go. Just enjoy the fact that I just said your team is going to the finals, because you have an easy path as anybody, and you're probably the best team left. So just enjoy this moment, because it's the last time I'm going to say something nice about your team, and that's the end of this. Thank you,
Jared.
Jake,
are you a baseball guy?
No. I cannot believe this conversation that you guys are having.
Yeah. Why is that?
When you started off talking, I thought you were talking about Milwaukee and Miami.
Oh,
yeah,
my
absolutely.
Heat. Oh, baby, let's talk Heat beating the Bucks.
We got about 7 minutes left. We can talk more about John's teams. Yeah.
About Milwaukee and Miami. And you know
what? But here's what I'll say about that series. There's a difference. In that series, unlike the Bruins as the easy example, they lost their star. The Bruins didn't lose anybody. They weren't hurt. They just lost. They just and they were up. And by the way,
came back. Don't give him an out.
Hold on. And by the way, the Bruins were also up 3-1. They had 3 chances to close them. 3 chances to close them out, and they couldn't do it. That's even worse. Just say. But the Heat was not great.
That was almost as bad.
But I will say this.
I love it.
the Heat are a very good team, and unfortunately, I have to admit it. Them being an eighth seed is one thing, but I got to tell you, Jimmy Butler in the playoffs is
He's a beast.
he's as great as anybody. I mean, he looks. Sometimes I feel like I look out there and it's like watching Kobe or Mike or any of those guys or LeBron. He puts in. It's like he turns a switch and he becomes
Just in the playoffs, not the regular season.
Regular season, he's good. Playoffs, he is arguably the best player on the court across the league almost every night. It's truly. I don't like giving you guys credit, but he's very good. But the reason I say he's almost the best player, it's because he's not.
Right,
Steph is still the best. Steph is going to be the best.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that, but fact that we're a play-in
Dave was so disgusted about the
knocked
Bruins
out Giannis
conversation, he
and the
just
Bucks.
left. That's how much Dave disliked what happened with the Bruins.
It's just hockey in general. I don't get it.
Dave, this would be like
skating with sticks.
Dave, you know what this is like, though? This is like if the 18 or the Patriots that went undefeated would have lost in their first matchup.
I understand. I understand
Yeah,
the premise.
it's bad. It's bad.
I fully understand. Hey, but what I don't know if you guys had a chance to talk to about how much closer I am to my prediction of a Celtics-Lakers championship.
It's happening.
Well, I know it's happening. It's the writing's on the wall, guys. You can poo-poo it all you want, but I already gave my man $100 on it.
That's fine. It's fine.
I don't know.
Listen,
we'll see tonight because
everything is wrong with the world. The Pittsburgh Pirates are in first place. The Yankees are last place.
I love it.
It's a terrible world, JB.
I
this
love
is just
seeing the Yankees in last.
It's so
shockingly.
topsy-turvy.
Aaron Judge signs his contract. He gets hurt.
Oh wow! Oh, shocked! What a surprise!
Timeout.
Yes.
This is a minor injury. This is not like
he's
it
like
doesn't
Anthony
matter, though.
Davis. He's always
all
hurt.
baseball injuries are minor.
That's not true.
Hey, Jared, what's your prediction for the finals for the NBA?
That what you said that is. I don't want to jinx that.
Yeah, you can.
But that's what he's
mind.
thinking.
Love to
Please
see
go
that.
ahead.
Love to see that.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't want to.
All basketball fans would love to see that, even if except if your team's still alive. If you're a basketball fan without your team still alive, that's got to be probably the best finals matchup there could
No
be.
thanks.
Yeah,
We
no,
want
I'd like to see the Warriors get back, just just to defend the title, just because the narrative's nice. I mean, don't get me wrong, the narrative behind the Lakers would also be fantastic, but
yeah, they're not gonna get past the Lakers. The Lakers are gonna sweep them.
Oh, Dave,
We'll come back in a week on that.
I was gonna say we'll come back in a week on that because
we're
game
definitely
one
gonna have time before the series is over to talk about that.
Game one starts very soon, and I can't wait. And I really hope the Lakers lose. Only to say, Dave, even if they win the series, you were wrong in your prediction. They didn't sweep them.
Hey, to be honest with you, I didn't even know if the Celtics are still in. I didn't even know if they won. So
They're down 1-0.
How much I pay attention. Hey, guys, I'm here. I'm just a pretty face. I eat my tacos. I bring on great guests.
And you bring some good laughs.
Come hang out with us.
Cannot say the same thing about myself.
Jared's not going to talk to me for 2 weeks. He's not going to pick up my call. He goes, "Oh crap!"
Look,
you haven't talked to those guys.
Dave, if he doesn't answer your calls, you only got one person to blame. You brought him into this mess. You know how ridiculous this gets. Only you can be blamed for that.
Why not?
Yeah. Well, we blame John for everything.
You know what? I'm okay. All in favor of blaming John, say aye.
Aye.
Hey, JT said he had a graphic for MVP, guys. I'd be remiss if we didn't plug that just a little bit more. Yeah. I'll tell you, there was not a dry eye, and I'm talking about veterans. I had wives come up to me and and thank me, and they go, "I've never seen my husband so emotional, guy, so caught up in it." They just did a great portrayal of, like I said, both sides of it, and you could just feel it, especially if you've been there. So,
there you go.
Anyhow, and Jared, I do appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. I won't invite you to any more golf things.
Jared, we can have some golf lessons together. I'm not very good, so.
Oh no, JP's horrible. Yeah.
And it's painful too. It's painful. That's why.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got about a minute and a half, which is just enough time. So, Jared, we'll start with you. Plug whatever you got, anywhere people can find you, charitable stuff, whatever you want to plug. Let's plug it.
Oh man, you guys put me on the spot, but this stuff. Instagram, Jared Bunch for real. And listen, I'm here helping the NFLPA retired players here in Southern California, LA, and Orange County. We try to become the best chapter in the nation.
That's right.
We want California in its whole.
Watch out.
The 3 different chapters we work together. That we want to be the symbol of what NFL Players Association retired players should be doing and what they should look like.
So sorry to interrupt real quick. You said 3 chapters. Who's the other president? We got 2 of you guys here.
We got San Diego with Mitch Palmer.
Actually, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, we have 4. We got another one in.
And we have NorCal, and so at this last players meeting, I don't know why they did this. Maybe they felt sorry for me, but they voted me in as a former player advisory board member, and so I kind of help not oversee by any means, but just making sure we're all on plane and on point and getting the benefits across and checking, because we have a scorecard. We have be involved in the community.
Like a little bingo.
To hold our meetings. We have to get guys in, and it's just not just some willy-nilly thing. And so I kind of assist with that, and we've got 4 great chapters. And I think California proper has probably the largest concentration of former players. I think we're at about 1,000 former players.
Wow.
So, there's a lot that we can do.
All right. Well, on that note, we have to wrap up. So that's Just Dave. That's JB. That's John. I'm Jake. This is Jared Bunch. Everybody have a good one, and we'll see you next week.